Hey everybody, this is Stevie J from AngryMarks.com with your SummerSlam 2012 pay-per-view recap. I enjoyed my Chinese buffet and I enjoyed my WWE pay-per-view, and speaking of which, let's get right down to the action with the first match from the YouTube pre-show. It was Santino Marella versus Antonio Cesaro. They had Cesaro say the word greatness in 5 languages to put over his gimmick, and then they had a match where Marella, of course, went for the sock, but he got blocked and Cesaro tore it up, but lo and behold, Santino had a second sock in a place that I would really rather not discuss. He pulled it out, but he got distracted by Oksana, who was there at ringside for her man, and then Cesaro hit a headbutt to the stomach, picked him up by the waist, dumped him, and then hit a neutralizer for the pin. Your new United States champion is Antonio Cesaro. The first actual match on the pay-per-view was Dolph Ziggler versus Chris Jericho, with Vicky Guerrero announcing her way to the ring. Excuse me! Of course, at this point, I love hearing her do that. It doesn't even annoy me anymore. It just makes me laugh. So Jericho and Ziggler had a really good match to start the pay-per-view. I have no complaints about it. The crowd was really into it both ways with Let's Go Ziggler and Y2J chants. He kicked out of 2 zigzags, which made me think that Jericho was going to get the win. And sure enough, grabbed the legs, flipped him over, and applied the walls of Jericho. Ziggler tapped out. Jericho gets his win on pay-per-view. He can ride off into the sunset with a win and go on tour with Fozzy. The next match of the pay-per-view was Daniel Bryan versus Kane. This was a special match by order of AJ Lee. I guess her former boyfriends had to get in a fight here. And Kane was pretty dominant in this match. He hit the choke slam. He signaled that that wasn't good enough and he wanted to hit a tombstone pile driver to really send the message home. But Daniel Bryan swept the leg, rolled him up in a small package, and got the pin. Kane was pissed off. Josh Matthews tried to interview him. Kane threw him into a wall and left a trail of destruction everywhere. So don't mess with Kane when he loses a match. He doesn't want to talk to anybody. Josh Matthews had to learn that the hard way. Next up was The Miz versus Rey Mysterio with the Intercontinental title on the line, and Rey came out in his Batman cape and cowl for the evening, but that didn't help him win. What happened in the end was that Mysterio connected on the 619 and went to the top rope. He went for a flying headbutt. Miz moved out of the way, went for the skull-crushing finale. Mysterio rolled through it, hooked Miz's legs, got a 2 count. Both men went to opposite corners to regroup. Mysterio charged. Miz picked him up, hit him with snake eyes into the turnbuckle, and then followed with a skull-crushing finale for the pin. So Miz retains the Intercontinental title. Afterwards, CM Punk cut a promo on AJ Lee in her office and said that he was being disrespected just like the WWE and his opponents were disrespecting him, and said he would defend the title and come home proud on Raw to prove that there was no not respecting CM Punk and everybody will be forced to show him some respect. Our first world title match followed this promo. Sheamus versus Alberto Del Rio. Del Rio got pissed off because the referee didn't give a 3 count and he started to attack his ring announcer Ricardo Rodriguez. But this was all a big setup because when Rodriguez was being thrown out of the ring, he threw in his shoe. Del Rio was supposed to catch it, but it went a little too high. Sheamus caught it instead. He hit him in the head with it. Then Sheamus picked him up while he was out cold and hit the backbreaker and covered him for the pin. So Sheamus wins by kind of sort of cheating. And to make matters worse, Del Rio's foot was on the ropes when he got the 3 count, so you know what this means, rematch. I'm not saying that's a bad thing. I actually like this feud, but it's kind of a screwy thing to do for a babyface to cheat to win and for the referee to blatantly ignore the foot on the ropes. So it kind of looks bad for Sheamus, but I guess that's going to be a good argument for the heel because a heel always has to feel morally justified to be an effective heel. So he's going to show the video, he's going to claim he got robbed, and they're going to be forced to give him one more match. Next, we had a tag team championship match, Kofi and R-Truth. That's Boom Truth, y'all. And then the primetime players were their opponents, Titus O'Neil and Darren Young. People just decided to ignore this match and have conversations and look at their phones, and I can't really blame anybody because there was really nothing going on here. You know, Darren Young and Titus O'Neil are a serviceable tag team. Probably going to be a great tag team someday, but it just feels like ever since Abraham Washington got in trouble and got fired, that they've sort of lost their push, and That's pretty evident here because the finish was Kingston pulling down the ropes and O'Neal floating over and falling to the floor. Then he went with a clothesline off the apron. Darren Young tried to roll up R-Truth. R-Truth gets out and hits his finishing move and covers Darren Young, and the champs retain. The most obvious and likely of title changes other than the U.S. title would have been right here, and it didn't happen. So, poor primetime players, they're being punished for the mistakes of AEW. Then we had our triple threat match, CM Punk, John Cena, and The Big Show. This was a long match, so I'm just going to get right to the big moment, which was Big Show was down, and both CM Punk and John Cena went for finishers. Big Show tapped out, and it wasn't clear who he tapped to, so everybody was confused. Things were halted. The ref didn't know who to award the title to. AJ Lee came out from the back, skipping la 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 down to the ring, and all she says is one phrase: restart the match. After the restart, she leaves. Cena and Punk turn around. Big Show is standing there waiting for him. He hits a double choke slam. Cena kicks out. He tries to cover Punk. Punk kicks out. Big Show is pissed off that this didn't work, and he cocks the hammer and prepares to throw a knockout blow on Cena. But Cena ducks it, picks up Big Show, hits the attitude adjustment, but before he can get the pin, Punk throws Cena out by the hook of his jeans. Then he covers Big Show and steals the pin. So CM Punk retains his WWE title. Then to kill some time, we saw people in the crowd who were hanging out. Maria Menounos, David Arquette, Piers Morgan, Fred Durst, whatever. Then they had the Kevin Rudolph concert to kill even more time. And the one thing we gleaned from this is that the WWE divas, save for Eve Torres, can't dance to save their lives. Michael Cole was being a complete jackass during this segment, acting like he loved Kevin Rudolph, singing along and getting in Jerry Lawler's face, and this whole thing made me hate life and want to die. It was a big waste of time, no offense to Kevin Rudolph, but every part of this sucked. So thankfully, we finally got Hunter Hearst Helmsley and the next big thing, Brock Lesnar, in their main event match. So once again, CM Punk is going to be a little self-righteous tomorrow that he was not the main event that closed the pay-per-view, and he deserves more respect. And arguably, since he hasn't had a main event on any pay-per-view going back to December, he's got a good point. So, here's the deal. Lesnar put Triple H in hurt early. He had him in the corner, kept running into him with spears to the gut, and kept trying to go for the armbar. Triple H kept fighting it off, yada, 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 back and forth. So, eventually, this gets violent, and Triple H tries to give as good as he gets, but Brock Lesnar takes off the gloves and says, if that's what you want, we're going to have a real fight. And from that point on, it was an MMA-style match with Brock Lesnar taunting Triple H and beating him up, but then Triple H's big comeback was that he started hitting knees to the stomach, which the announcing sold as being related to the diverticulitis, even though they couldn't say the word diverticulitis, and I don't think they'd even know what diverticulitis was if they had a medical dictionary in front of them and Cole was reading it. It wouldn't help, so they just said his stomach and intestine problems and left it at that. So Triple H is starting to get the better of him. He hits a pedigree, but of course, Brock Lesnar kicks out of that. And then Lesnar hits the F5, and Triple H kicks out of that. So now we're all wondering, what the hell are they going to do? How are they going to finish this? People in the bar are speculating that maybe it's going to be a sledgehammer. I'm speculating that Shawn Michaels is going to come out. But nope, it just comes down to a simple tap out. Triple H kicks Lesnar in the guts. He goes for the pedigree and hits it, but he collapses and tries to roll over to Lesnar, but when he tries to roll over to get the pinfall on him, Lesnar snags the arm, puts the Kimura lock on, wraps the leg around the body and cranks on it, and Triple H has nowhere to go and no way to get out, so Triple H taps. The fans chant, "You tapped out, you tapped out." And then they chant, Triple H, and they give him his last hurrah. He refuses medical help. He walks to the back by himself, and Michael Cole sells it, and he says, you have to wonder if this is the end of Triple H. And that's how SummerSlam 2012 goes off the air. Thanks for listening to the recap. I'm Stevie J from AngryMarks.com.